Okay, so let's just start with the hands on the danchen. This sense of something concentrating into this point, not because the muscles are getting tight, but simply because the mind is focused. Just start. It's as though you're like the rubber bladder, and it's like you're squeezing it, and then it stretches open, and then you squeeze it again. So now you do start using the muscles. So pulling the belly in, tightening the sphincters, and then releasing and pushing everything out. Pulling in, pushing out. So the spine starts to get into it. And beginning to turn a little bit. So as soon as we start turning, the spirit's becoming a little bit more active. So the opening phase is becoming stronger, if you like, as we open to the side and then close back to the front. Just begin to stretch forwards to pull in the rope. My spirit that extends the hand, like I'm really, really interested in whatever it is I'm reaching towards. a real sense that the hand is taken out by your enthusiasm rather than by your muscles. So the constant really is the sinking and relaxing. Gravity streaming down and me just really making an effort not to use muscular force. Let's try a few up and down. Imagine you're reaching up for the apple. There's a really rosy, juicy apple above you. So if you were like really desirous and really enthusiastic about plucking this apple, then there'd almost be a sense that it was the apple pulling your hand towards it. But that's the quality of our actions, as though they're being drawn out of us by something outside us. That's the spirit aspect. The physical aspect is very much like it's coming from your center. So physically, it is. But spirit-wise, it's being called out of you. And now let's try some of the strong twists, because the twisting is really important, I've discovered. So one hand behind, the other hand on the opposite knee, and gradually inch your way around. The more you twist into this stretch, the longer your spine effectively becomes. It's as though your head is rising up out of this twist. You don't want it to collapse you. Just get the eyes round furthest, so the eyes can actually see the wall behind you. And then come out of it. So just release the pressure slowly and move slowly. coming out of it. Slowly release. Let's try the other side again. And then one more the other side. And then back round. And then feel the head center. And now we'll breathe similar to how we were breathing down into the belly. So here we're visualizing this sort of rubber bladder that we squeeze. So it's like we're trying to compact into it. This one, it's more like just a space, almost like a gaseous cloud, and we're trying to help it expand. So it's like the hands pull away from each other. So it's the expansion that I'm focusing on. The hands simply come in so that they can come out again. Just trying to catch the right mind, really. What in Tai Chi they call mind continuous. So, like an unbroken thread, which makes the hands and your movements look as though you're sort of wading through a thick liquid. They have that image of wading through warm honey. So it's quite an effort just to move, because what we're trying to do is move with mind, with energy, rather than move with muscular force. So I have to see it in my mind's eye, and then the hands will follow it. So the hands are following the flow of energy. There's a lovely image, warm honey, wading through warm honey. It's not just that it's a thick liquid, honey is always sweet. It's always a warm color, but it can range from the darkest brown to almost white. And then just like you're doing almost like riding horse, but with the arms up. Again, with this feeling that the hands are being pulled up by something, your shoulders can just stay relaxed. So it's always with gravity. In a sense, it's that being able to keep your mind with the sinking. It's that creates the resistance for your movements. And that's mind in Danshan, but also just this mind that's flowing down like liquid. So nothing is solid in Tai Chi. There's no solids. It's either a heavy liquid. So they have an image of imagining that, like mercury, quicksilver, there's a little pool of mercury here. And how heavy mercury is. It's 13 times heavier than water. And then this is just like a really light cloud that will rise up through the atmosphere. And then just bringing the hands in and down. And now feel the heart. So the heart is quite different than those two. Those two have like almost like an inanimate purity. So this is like sort of just pure condensation and heaviness. And this is just pure lightness. But this is your humanity, really. This is your living aspect. It's the combination of these two. Let's start by moving from leg to leg. So our preferred way, which is just really activating the empty foot, feeling the activity in the empty foot, the spirit, the sort of liveliness is in the empty side. Seen most when you kick. Your weight is in the foot that's planted, which allows your other foot to lash out with real speed. And if I really get into it, then I can just let the heel of the empty foot come up. But to do that, I really have to get my weight in the full foot. So clearly distinguish full and empty. And then just start turning with it a bit more. So turning towards the filling foot. So what that will do is when you lift the heel of the empty foot, you'll really feel it in the back of the hip, which is what we want. We want to feel that our hip bones are much bigger than they really are, almost like you have these bony growths coming out of your hips at the back, either side of the sacrum. And then just turn. Now it just becomes the turning exercise. So now I'm just making an effort to keep my spine in the middle, not letting my spine move too much side to side, and using the actions of the legs to really twist me around my spine. So the leg you're coming into, at some point, it has to start straightening. Otherwise, I'll move across too much. Yeah, so I'm twisting and really just trying to get this hip around. I'm going to turn. coming into this foot, even if I'm straightening this leg and pushing myself in that direction, this is where my root is. This is where I'm anchored. And I turn here. So this leg is straightening to push the hip round, but at the same time it's emptying. So there's a sense of something rising from the ground to push the hip. And at the same time, there's a sense of something really sinking and flushing out of the leg. So it's just finding that balance. Turn more. That's it. Yes, the centrifugal, centripetal. Now, the centripetal, this sense of something coming in with the turning, is just the holding on here, like holding on to the center to keep it stable in some sort of way. The centrifugal is just this sense that my two hips are just releasing away from my sacrum with the turning. And then let's just bring it to riding horse. So again, this feeling of ward off, this feeling that your limbs are coming away from the spine. So in other words, energy is flowing out of your spine and down each arm and each leg. So that's the centrifugal. And then the centripetal is just you being held up, really. In one sense, my legs are coming up and just gripping this sacrum to keep it stable. But energetically, I'm flowing away from it. So the energy is flowing down the legs, but the legs are coming up to hold the sacrum. This is difficult. Because what I want to do now is just get a sense of energy. And it's very much like the trampoline. Yeah. So imagine jumping on the trampoline. The trampoline throws you up. Okay, now you descend, you sink into the trampoline. And the trampoline gives to and allows your body in, but it doesn't completely give, otherwise it would break and you'd fall through the skin. So it's giving, but at the same time, it's tightening and trying to push you up. And at some point, the down of you, of your weight, and the up of the trampoline balance, and then the trampoline takes over and throws you up. So it's this sense of bouncing. And so I want the legs to sort of behave like that. not so much to bounce me around, but simply to generate energy. So I sink into the leg, and what I want to feel is this bounce back like a flow. So as I sink into the leg, that I'm going down in my mind. I'm sinking. I'm almost feeling like I just want to go into the ground, like I'm a liquid that just gets soaked up by the ground. So I'm sinking. But my body isn't. My body is only sinking a little bit because my knee wouldn't handle it. My leg wouldn't be strong enough. So I'm sinking with my mind, with that aspect of my mind. My relaxing mind is sinking down, but my body isn't. And that's because the leg is having to behave like the trampoline spring. So I'm sinking into the leg, and the leg is already trying to push me back. And I want to feel that push as an energy. So, really, energy is just a force that hasn't yet started to move you. You know, it's like a really weak force. So, I sink into the leg. Now, before the leg actually pushes me back like that, if I'm using force, I would sink into the leg and wait until my leg had enough, and then I would push with my leg and my body would move. Now, what we're trying to do is move, but with energy. So I have to be able to generate the energy so that the body can be taken along by it. And we generate the energy simply by weakening the forces through relaxation. Imagine if you're using force, you would naturally get tense in order to apply a lot of force. Energy is just like the opposite. So I'm relaxing, relaxing, relaxing so that there isn't enough force to move me. But energy actually flows from that relaxing force. And then if I choose to, I can let my body coast along with it. So energy, it's difficult because it's not like forces which has got nothing to do with your mind really. So forces will work on anything. If you pushed a piece of wood, it would move, same as a human body would. We're not interested in that. We're interested in mind and spirit. And the product of those two is energy if you work softly. So I sink into the leg and I just feel this flow flowing through me. And then I just let my body get taken along by that. Sink into the leg. The leg is now generating this flow of energy, and I let my body move. So it just requires a mind that, first of all, is light enough to allow the energy to manifest, and secondly, enthusiastic enough to go along with it. So the image they use is surfing, like catching the wave. So I'm sinking into the leg. The leg is simply to hold my relaxing body up. It's effectively pumping up through me. What I don't want is to get tense. Yeah. I don't want to bundle myself into a package of matter and then just hold it up. I'm flowing, I'm becoming liquid. So you know that beautiful phrase in the Tao Te Ching, softness. So they say, soft like ice about to melt. Yeah. So it's a change of phase. It's right at that edge where the solid ice becomes liquid water. So that's the feeling of softness. It's all softness. Softness is of energy, hardness is of force. So I'm sinking into the leg, I'm melting. And simply to hold that up and stop it from just becoming a puddle on the floor, this leg is thrusting this energy through me, which I then follow. Sinking, something comes up through that, and I go with it. And the trouble with energy, or I mean, the beauty of energy really, but the trouble for most people is that it really is just a product of your mind. of the correct mind, not your thinking mind, not what we think of as mind, but this part of me that's just so light and just willing. It's like it's a willingness of my spirit to engage. Sinking into the leg extends through me, and woo, I just flow along with it. So, what we're trying to do here is just make sure that we get the sequence right. The energy is generated by the leg, and then the movement follows the energy. The body isn't moving me. The body is generating a flow of energy, which I choose to go along with. I could quite easily just say, no, I'm not going to do that, which is what we do all the time, because energy is everywhere. Energy is everything. As John, that beautiful phrase of John's, all is energy and everything is in its rightful place. So our whole existence is just saying no. We're saying no all the time to energy. Think of it, like a little baby, just how energetic they are. It's like their eyes can't see objects and they're just scanning and looking. And then slowly they learn how to grip and tighten up so that they can make an image out of this optical information. And then they learn to get an ego because it's the only way they can possibly be noticed and compete in this revolting adult world. So I'm sinking, something flows through me, and I go with that. So this is an aspect of energy. It's like an energy that's coming up out of the full foot. So I can just work exactly the same way I was working before, just by lifting this heel. And that's encouraging the energy to flow. It's almost like the lightness here is saying, come on, come on. And the energy flows, and then my body goes with it. So there's this aspect of something surging out of the full foot. But there's also another sense of something from the empty foot calling. Yeah, so the energy and the spirit, they're quite different. They're related. So the energy is coming up like this, but the spirit is calling from over here. And together they will produce this movement. Sinking into the foot. Yeah, so we have to sink into the foot, but relax into the sinking, because the leg is naturally like a spring. If I can sink into it and relax, it will naturally spring me back. It will naturally generate this flow of energy that I can then surf. But it is difficult. You have to sink into the leg. Yeah? So most people will come into the leg and then tighten the leg up in order to keep themselves at this position. I want to come into the leg and just be constantly relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. And then I can feel the leg trying to return me. So remember, energy is just movement. And so if everything is energy and all is in its rightful place, then everything is movement. But balanced movement. Sinking into the leg. And the more I can relax, the more energy will actually come out. So, and you can see it's just mind, but it's that sort of enthusiastic, cheerful mind, what the Buddhists call happiness. Sinking and away. And now feeling the dantian and the sacrum being drawn down and pulled forwards a little bit so that we can get this feeling of something lifting here. That's really important, just to have a little bit of that. It's like with when we work with the stick on the point on the back, or when we have the hands together. Let's try that. Let's have the hands together behind the back like we do when we're sitting down. So this is just helping this open and be directed upwards. Feel the sacrum underneath this area. So when I'm working with people, without exception, the basic adjustment they need to make is the lift here, the lift in their thymus. That's what we've lost. We've lost the connection with the sky, with the heavens. And if you have this, then you're just naturally just very enthusiastic and connected and interested. And when we do this, we're getting it quite extreme. So obviously, when you're walking around, it wouldn't be this extreme, but it would have this feeling of like you're leading with your thymus. So most people, when they walk, would lead with their head. So they will lean forwards a little bit. That would mean their thymus is dropping. So if I'm trying to thrust the thymus up and get a sense that it's that's leading, this is where I present myself from energetically, spiritually. So it's like the heart is leading, but it has to come up, it has to express. So it's, something is coming up and out, up and out. So there's this feeling of almost like there's an energy that's rising up your front, and just before it hits your chin, it comes out. This is the thymic energy. Again, I have to see it. So it has to be there in my mind's eye. Up and out. That's it. And then let's hit riding horse again. So we have this feeling of the arms and the legs coming away from the spine, but at the same time, there's this sense of something growing up out of you. This is very much like a flame, a very gentle candle flame that's flickering away and licking up. And all the time just relaxing, melting, soft like ice about to melt. A sense that I'm flowing downwards. And then there's this sense of something extending up from the ground through you. And together they produce this image of stillness, which is never really still. It's full of movement. As soon as I think, I effectively take my mind away from the system. And then it can only then just be forces and solidity holding itself in position. Okay, then let's bring it up. Again, like ice about to melt, the legs are about to buckle. There's this sense that almost like the spirit lets go of the body and your legs just go. They're constantly threatening to fail. It's what I call the point of failure. That's where there's most energy. It's strange that, if you can just relax the forces so much that you're just right on the edge of just not being able to function, that's where there's most energy. The softer you become, the lighter, more gentle you become, the more energy. It's a difficult one to learn that. Yeah, so there has to be softness, but combined with a real feeling for spirit. It's the spark, the sparkle that then, in a sense, maintains the structure rather than the forces.